Hi, this is Chris with VersaLift from Byers Products Group, and today we're going to install the VersaLift Model 24 in my garage attic. The VersaLift will make it easier and safer to use my attic space for extra storage and keep my garage looking neat.
To begin, open the long, narrow carton that holds the VersaLift Powerhead assembly. This Powerhead has two cartons, an overpack that opens on the ends, and a two-piece inner carton that has a top and bottom. Open both ends of the overpack by cutting the tape and opening the flaps. Remove the foam blocks, then push the inner carton out one end. Next, cut the tape at the bottom of the inner carton and carefully lift off the carton lid. Save these cartons in the attic in case you need them to return the Powerhead for warranty repair. Look in the Powerhead carton to find the manual bag that has the installation guide and the owner's manual inside. Please be sure to read the safety instructions before proceeding. Also find the 4 plastic L-shaped wear strips and the hardware bag. Open the outer bag on the hardware and take out the small bag with 1-inch nails. We will keep the wear strips and the 1-inch nails downstairs and use them later to complete our opening. This video follows the VersaLift Model 24 installation guide provided with this VersaLift. We'll be starting on page 4, Lift Opening Specifications. To begin, we will cover the key differences between the Model 24 and Model 32 lift opening requirements. This is information you'll need to decide where to locate your VersaLift and where to install the lift opening in the upstairs floor. For the Model 24, you need a minimum height clearance of 47 inches above the lift opening that measures 22.5 by 46.5 inside. Note that the 24 lift head extends outward from the legs 11 inches on one end of the opening, shown here as a blue shadow on the floor. For the Model 32, you need a minimum height clearance of 60 inches above the lift opening that measures 30.5 inches by 58.5 inches inside. Note that the 32 Powerhead extends outward from the legs 11 inches on one end of the opening, shown here as a blue shadow on the floor. Keep in mind that the lift opening for all models needs a minimum 2-inch clear margin of the flooring all around the opening. This is where the lift frame will be mounted to the floor. There also must be an 11-inch clear margin on either the left or right side from any vertical wall or support to allow for the Powerhead. If you're installing the optional auto shutter for your lift, you'll need a 5-inch margin on the rear long side of the opening for the shutter hinges to be mounted. Note the hinges go opposite the side you will load and unload the lift from. Again, you must have an 11-inch clear margin on either the left or right side to allow for the Powerhead. You'll need to determine the orientation of your floor joists. It's recommended to orientate your opening so the long sides of the openings are aligned or parallel to the direction of your floor joist. Aligned openings cut the fewest joists, keeping your floor stronger. Transverse openings cut more joists, making your floor weaker. For more info, see Lift Opening Orientation on page 6 of your installation guide. There are 2 common types of attic joists used by builders today. The first type is the solid wood joists, such as 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, or 2x12. Solid wood joists are rectangular in profile and have smooth surfaces on all sides, making them ideal for framing the lift opening. The second type is I-joists, also called engineered joists or manufactured joists. I-joists look like a capital letter I in a profile and have recessed sidewalls that form ledges. These ledges must be covered with smooth 1/4-inch plywood to make a smooth-sided opening for the lift platform to pass through. You will need to identify what type of joists are used in your attic floor or upstairs floor, as the VersaLift opening is framed differently for solid wood joists than for I-joists. Page 5 of your installation guide provides details about joist types. For a Model 24 with solid wood joists, you'll frame your opening to measure 22.5 by 46.5 inches inside. For a Model 24 with I-joists, you'll frame your opening to 23 by 47 inches inside. Then, cover the inside of the opening with 1/4-inch plywood panels, and the finished opening will measure 22.5 by 46.5 inches. For a Model 32 with solid wood joists, you'll frame your opening to measure 30.5 by 58.5 inches inside. For a Model 32 with I-joists, you'll frame your opening to 31 inches by 59 inches inside. Then cover the inside of the opening with 1/4-inch plywood panels, and the finished opening will measure 30.5 by 58.5 inches. Make sure your opening meets the requirements detailed on pages 4 and 5 of the VersaLift installation guide. Hammer any nail heads inside the opening down flush and install wear strips in the corners. Flooring should extend flush to the top edge of the opening, and sheetrock should be trimmed flush to the bottom edge of the opening, so nothing projects into the opening. You'll need about 10 feet of solid wood or I-joist material that matches the size and type of your joists. You'll need this extra material to make the headers and joist sections for your opening. You'll need 3 8-foot 2x4 or 2x6 lumber to make your blocking and joist supports. Find clean boards without knots or splits. You'll need one of these to cut into the blocking. You'll need the other 2 for making temporary joist supports. You will need a half sheet 4-foot by 4-foot of 1/2-inch plywood to make a safety cover for your Model 24 opening. Or, for a Model 32, you'll need a full sheet 4 feet by 8 feet. If you have I-joists, you'll need half a sheet or a full sheet of 1/4-inch plywood to panel the inside of your Model 24 or 32 opening. Also, if your attic has no flooring, you'll need to buy enough sheets of sturdy plywood or wafer board to deck your attic. We recommend 1/2-inch thick for joist spacing of 16 inches and 5/8 inch thick for 24-inch joist spacing. You'll need nails, hammer, tape measure, saw, square, drill, screwdrivers, and wrenches to frame your VersaLift opening and install decking. For a detailed written list of these materials and tools, please see page 3 of your VersaLift Model 24 or 32 installation guide. This example is a solid wood 2x12 joist with 2x4 blocking nailed in place. The block makes a solid backing to position the header and nail or screw it to. 2x4 blocking is recommended at every joint to securely join headers to joists and joist sections to headers. Blocking is recommended. If you use joist hangers instead, the nail heads must be hammered down and as flat as possible, and the brackets and the nails inside the opening must be covered with the wear strips to provide a smooth operating surface for the lift platform. Optional framing techniques for wood openings are detailed in the Model 24 or 32 installation guides on pages 6 and 7. Several different framing options are detailed on these pages. You can select the option that best fits your installation needs. This example is a 14-inch tall I-joist with 2 1/4 top and bottom cap. The blocking technique for I-joist is different from what's used for solid wood. The blocking on the headers and I-joist sections is glued and nailed to the web between the top and bottom caps and is offset outward so it becomes a tab that fits into recess between the caps and the connecting I-joist. During assembly, the blocking keys the pieces together, then nails are driven through the web on one I-joist and into the blocking on the second I-joist for a solid joint. With I-joist, the opening is framed oversized by 1/2 inch in each direction. Then it's skinned inside with 1/4-inch plywood, reducing the opening to the final size and providing smooth sidewalls. Optional framing techniques for I-joist openings are detailed in the Model 24 or 32 installation guide starting on page 8. Several different framing options are detailed on these pages. You can select the option that best fits your installation needs. In Part 2, we're going to show you a step-by-step installation of a Model 24 wireless VersaLift in an attic with I-joist floor construction. We will be following the steps in the Model 24 installation guide. Take the installation guide and manual bag upstairs to determine where the lift opening is going to be. We want to align our opening with the floor joist. We also want to make sure to check the vertical height between our lift opening and the rafters above. The Model 24 needs a minimum vertical space of 47 inches. Please note that the Model 32 requires 60 inches minimum. We've selected our location, so we'll begin by measuring to remove the floor decking in an area that is 12 to 16 inches larger on all sides than our lift opening. This is so that we can work on both sides of the joist. If you don't have any decking in your attic, you should deck an area near the opening area so that you have a floor to work from. Now that we've removed the floor decking where the opening will be and determined that our attic floor is made with I-joists on 16-inch centers, let's look at the installation guide we'll find on page 8 has Framing Technique 3 for I-joists on 16-inch center. Figure 15 shows that with I-joists, we will need to frame our I-joist opening to 23 inches by 47 inches. That's a ½ inch oversized to allow for adding a 1/4 inch plywood around the inside of the opening as shown in figure 16. The first step will be to cut one I-joist out and make our opening. To determine how much to cut out, just add the opening length plus 2 header widths. Our opening is 47 inches and our I-joist header caps are 2 1/4 inches. So we mark 2 lines on the top of the I-joist 47 inches apart. Then measure outwards 2 1/4 from each line for the header cap width to make the cut lines. Our cut lines are 51 1/2 inches apart. That's 2 1/4 inches plus 47 inches plus 2 1/4 inches. Use a large framing square to mark vertical lines on both of the cut lines on top of the joist all the way down the sides to the bottom where it meets the ceiling material. Note, if our joist were solid wood, our opening would be 46 1/2 inches and our header width would be 1 1/2 inch. So our cut lines would be 49 1/2 inches apart. That's 1 1/2 inches plus 46 1/2 inches plus 1 1/2 inches, which equals 49 1/2 inches. See page 7, figures 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 for details. Please note, before we cut a joist, we need to install 2 2x4 or 2x6 joist supports that can span across adjacent joists outside of each cut line. Fasten the supports securely to the middle joist that you are about to cut, so the weight of the joist ends, and your weight too, are supported by joists on either side. Without supports, the sheetrock is the only thing supporting the joist until the headers have been installed. Joist supports are shown in figures 15 and 16 of the installation guide. Now we're ready to cut out the joist. When cutting, it's common that the Sawzall blade may punch through the ceiling sheetrock while cutting the joist. This is normal. Do your best to be careful and keep it to a minimum. Once you've cut out both sides, rock the joist back and forth to pull out any nails that may be in the sheetrock and set this section of the joist aside for later use. Next, we're going to cut nailing blocks out of this 2x4 to make blocks that will connect our headers securely to our joists. Since we have I-joist, we're going to cut blocks that are 9 1/4 inches tall so that they will fit between the top and bottom joist caps. If you have solid wood joists, your blocks would be the same height as your joist. We've cut 8 blocks. Determine how wide your new headers will need to be. Our distance measured 29 1/2 inches wide between the bottom caps and the 2 uncut joists. Also check the top distance as well. When cutting your header, make sure that the end that you're measuring from is a good square end. If it's not, just square it with a new cut. Then measure and mark the length of your header. Draw a square cut line from top to bottom, then cut your header. Check to make sure that your header fits into the end of the opening. Follow these steps for the second header at the opposite end of the opening. Next, we need to install blocking on our headers. We place each block into the recess under the top cap of the I-joist to mark an offset line with a sharp pencil or pen, as shown in the inset illustration in figure 14. Place blocks under each end of the header and align the offset to the edge of the joist web. Then securely fasten the block in place. We recommend that you secure the blocks to the headers with glue and nails or screws. The blocks on the headers form tabs that fit into the recess on the I-joist so they can be securely joined together. Your header should look something like this. Now we're going to add a nailing block to each end of the I-joist we cut using the same offset spacing. Next, we will fit the headers into the opening between the I-joist. Tap the ends of the header into place. Use a square to make sure that both your new headers are square to the I-joist and ceiling at all 4 corners, top and bottom. Make sure the length is the desired 47-inch dimension. Then drive nails through the webbing into the nailing blocks at the end of each header and in the middle. Place 3 nails at each point. The final wall of our opening will be made with an I-joist section cut to fit the length of our opening. Determine which side of the opening you want to install your VersaLift in. We want to install the VersaLift away from the rafter slope, allowing more headroom for access and operation. So we measure and mark both headers 23 inches from that side of the opening. This is where the new I-joist section will be installed. Use the framing square to extend the 23-inch marks down from the top to the bottom of the I-joist caps. Check the exact length needed for the new I-joist section by measuring edge to edge on the top caps and the bottom caps of the new headers, which should be about 47 inches. Adjust the dimension if needed so your I-joist section will fit between your headers. Make sure you measure from an end that is completely square. Cut your I-joist section and check to make sure that it fits between your headers before you add your nailing blocks on both ends. Now that your new I-joist section is ready, we install it just like we did before with the two header pieces. You're going to slide the new I-joist section into place with the blocks away from the opening and tap it up to your previously marked lines. As we did before, we're going to use the tape measure to make sure the opening is correct. In this instance, 23-inch wide top and bottom and at both ends. Then we will secure the new I-joist section to the headers by driving nails through the web and into the blocks at both ends. Now, reinstall any plywood decking that you have removed around the opening. Cut it to fit flush to the edge of the lift opening. You can also remove the 2x4 or 2x6 support braces from the floor, as the new headers now support the ends of the I-joist that we cut out. If your attic is not yet decked, now is the time to install decking in your attic, as decking must be in place before the lift can be installed. Again, cut it to fit flush to the edge of the lift opening. Next, we're ready to remove the sheetrock, or other sealing material from the underside of the opening. Note that we cut across any sheetrock seams as we remove small sections of material. Small sections are easier to handle and won't break off prematurely or damage the ceiling or floor below. Larger sections tend to break off unexpectedly and can pull the paper or tape joints from the ceiling as they fall, causing unnecessary repairs. Also note that we cut out the center first and leave a couple of inches all around. Then we can make the finished cuts. When cutting the sheetrock, be as safe as possible. To prevent falling through the opening while cutting, use one of your support braces and nail it across the opening so you can lean on it instead of just leaning over the open hole. You can still work, but you won't be in danger of falling through the opening while cutting out the sheetrock. Next, we're going to cut the 1/4-inch plywood panels to finish the inside of the opening. We want to take the overall top to bottom measurement of the opening depth, including the sheetrock and the attic flooring decking. Our measurement here is 12 3/4 inches, and that's how tall our panels will be. We cut and installed the finished plywood material to the inside of the rough opening. Then cut the 4 plastic wear strips to 12 3/4 inches high and install them in the corners of the opening using the 1-inch nails supplied. Wear strips cover any nail heads, brackets, etc. and allow the lift platform to move smoothly inside the opening. Mark a center line on the long sides of the opening. The final opening is 46.5 inches, so the center line would be 23 1/4 inches. We will need these marks to center the lift system over the opening. Now that the opening is completed, we cut a 28 by 44 inch piece of decking material as a temporary safety cover. Center it over the opening, leaving the ends uncovered where the mounting rails will go. Secure the cover with screws or nails. We will remove it after the lift power head is installed over the opening. Carton contents are shown on page 10 in the Model 24 installation guide or page 11 in the Model 32 guide. You received 3 VersaLift cartons. We will call them Carton 1, 2, and 3. Carton 1 is the long narrow box that we already opened to get the manual bag, the L-shaped wear strips, and the bag of 1-inch nails out of. The remaining hardware in this hardware bag will be used to put the VersaLift together. Remove the long and short braces and the gold chain bag. Set them aside with the big flat Carton 3 to be used later to assemble the lifting platform. Also included is one of the 3 types of controllers, depending on which unit you purchased. The options are the wireless radio remote, the wall-mounted switch, and the standard corded remote. Please note while unboxing the lift power head that these rope handles with the tags on them are not to be cut until later. The ropes will be used later to carry the lift power head upstairs. Carton 2 is the smaller of the 3 cartons. It's the leg kit and contains the framework to support the lift power head up in the attic, and also the framework to assemble the lifting platform down in the garage. The lift platform legs are clearly denoted by the square tubing welded crossways on the bottom of each of the 2 right and 2 left legs. Set them aside with the big flat carton 3. Also inside are the cable clamp brackets that will be used later. These brackets will secure the cables that come down from the lift powerhead unit. The triangle-shaped platform leg brackets go at the top of the lift platform where the legs come together at the top. And there are these special threaded studs that the lift cable will be wrapped around, and cable clamps will be installed to secure the cable from slipping. You can also set these aside with carton 3. These 3 straight tubes are used in the construction of the lift platform. 2 are platform supports that go under the platform floor panel. The 3rd tube is the platform top brace that spans between the triangle-shaped platform leg brackets. Put these aside with carton 3 also. All of this will be used for the platform assembly later on. Also in this box are 4 lift powerhead legs to support the lift powerhead in the attic. They are wrapped together in a package of 4. Leave these wrapped together so that they're easier to carry upstairs. These are the 2 mounting rails that will be bolted to the bottom of the lift powerhead legs, while the top of the legs will be bolted to the lift powerhead. Carton 3 is the big flat carton that holds the platform panel and the door panel. These panels will be used later, along with the parts that we've set aside to assemble the lifting platform and door. Next, with 2 persons, use the rope handles to remove the lift powerhead from the box and carry it to the attic. Place it on the floor where you can assemble the lift powerhead. Now we can remove and discard the bag and the ropes. We're also going to move the lift powerhead legs, the mounting rails, the hardware bags, and the manual bag with installation guide upstairs to the attic. You'll find a template in the manual bag for the next step. Mark a center line on each end of the finished opening. The template is printed with instructions. Follow them carefully. There are holes punched in the template to mark the Model 24 drill pattern and the Model 32 drill pattern. Carefully place the short edge of the template printed with arrows on the center line that you've marked on the floor. The end with the holes will be away from the center line. Align the long edge of the template to the edge of the opening. Hold the template firmly while you trace the pair of holes designated for your Model 24 or Model 32. Flip the template over and repeat the steps. Now mark the opposite end of the opening the same way. The holes should be 3/4 of an inch from the edge of your opening and match the 4 slots with the mounting rails. Check your work carefully. Then drill your 5 32nd inch pilot holes 2.5 inches deep at the center of each of the marked circles, 4 places at each end. Please note that if metal joist hangers are between your floor decking and the top of your joist, after drilling the 5 32nd inch holes, you will need to use a 9 32nd inch metal bit to counter drill the hole just enough so that it will penetrate the metal hanger strap and stop right there. Do not push this larger bit any further down into the joist. You'll just want to penetrate the metal strap of the joist hanger. This way the lag bolt will clear the strap but still cut threads into the joist below when installed. Repeat procedure for the opposite end. For more details, see Figure 4 on page 5 of the Model 24 installation guide, or see Figure 3 on page 6 of the Model 32 installation guide. Next, we will attach the legs to the lift powerhead using 2 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch Phillips truss screws and 2 tall 1/4 inch lock nuts for each leg. Install the screws and nuts by hand and leave them loose for now so the legs can move around. Next, attach the mounting rails to outside of each pair of legs with the long flanges pointing outward. Use 2 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch Phillips truss screws and 2 tall 1/4 inch lock nuts for each leg, same as before, leaving them loose for now. Next, we add the plastic guide spacers to the mounting rails using a 1/4 inch by 2.5 inch pan screw head, 2 guide spacers, and a nut at each end of the rail. Make sure the spacers are facing forward the inside of the lift opening. The smooth head of the bolt should be facing inside toward the opening, and the nut is on the outside of the mounting rail. See Figure 22 in the installation guide. We will tighten all these bolts using a large No. 3 Phillips driver bit provided in your hardware kit and a 7/16 box end wrench to hold the nut. First, tighten the mounting rail bolts with a drill torque setting around 12. You'll need enough torque to get it good and tight, but not so much as to deform the tubing of the legs or damage the hardware. Next, tighten the nylon guide spacer bolts with a drill torque setting of about 6. Stop when the guide spacers won't turn. Don't over-tighten, as that can deform the plastic spacers. Now, tighten the leg bolts on the lift power head. Tip the unit on its side to tighten one side at a time. Use a drill torque setting of around 12, as we did with the mounting rail bolts, and a 7/16 wrench to hold the nut. Tip the unit the other way to tighten the other side. Next, rock the lift power head back up onto its back with the legs facing straight up. Notice the yellow warning label on the lift that says "Do not operate the lift power head until finishing steps 1 through 9 in the installation guide." The reason you don't want to plug in the power controls or run the lift motor is that the cables are in a preset setting from the factory. If you move the cable drum, it will ruin the factory preset, and you'll have to call the factory to get directions on how to reset the cable drum to its original factory position. The blue label is simply a reminder that this is not a lift area and will damage the unit if you try to use it as a handle to lift by. Flip the unit over and stand it on its mounting rails, centering it over the opening where it's going to be installed. The holes in the mounting rails should line up with the holes we have pre-drilled in the floor. This step is going to take 8 wood lag screws and 8 large washers. We're going to screw in the lag bolts and washers now to keep the lift head safely in place, but leave them loose so the washers will turn. Later we'll do a final adjustment. Remove the cables from the shipping bags. Remove the labels and drop them through the opening ends to the lower level where they will be attached to the lift platform later. Use a level to ensure that the lift head is level. If not, loosen the 4 leg bolts on the low end and place shims under the legs. When satisfied, tighten the leg bolts and remove the shims. Now that the lift head is secured over the opening, remove the safety cover from the lift opening and put it away. You can save it for later use. Now, downstairs, we will begin to assemble the door panel that covers the ceiling opening when the lift is raised up to the attic. We'll start with attaching the door braces to the door panel. Note that the short braces go on top of the long braces. Notice that this creates a gap between the middle of the short brace and the door panel. A spacer washer is used on the screw in the middle of the short braces, between the brace and the door. This fills the gap and keeps the door flat. White plastic screw covers are actually the landing feet for the lift platform. Put the screws through the screw cover, the door, and the braces, then secure them with lock nuts. Hold the nuts with a 3/8 wrench and tighten the screws with a No. 2 Phillips driver bit in your cordless drill with a light torque setting like 1 or 2. Once the screws are tightened, close the caps on the screw covers. The caps are what actually touches the garage floor so that it doesn't scratch the metal door. Occasionally, the caps may come apart from the screw cover during installation. Simply set the cap in place and push it firmly to snap it together with the screw cover. The piece isn't broken, it just came apart. The next step is to assemble the platform panel with the platform legs and the platform supports tubes. These are the platform legs. You might notice there's a silver spring hook at the top. That's the top assembly of the spring for the spring-loaded door assembly. There are 2 left-facing legs and 2 right-facing legs. Make sure you have them on the correct side. The right-angle tube at the bottom of each leg will be facing inward to connect with the platform support tubes. This is the correct way. This is the wrong way. The platform panel requires special hardware. You'll need 4 longer 1/4 inch by 2 inch truss screws and 4 short lock nuts. Ideally, you want to put both platform supports underneath the platform panel so that it's sitting level and aligned with the mounting holes in the 4 corners. You can use a small screwdriver to help line up the holes before inserting the screw. Make sure that you're using the short, low-profile lock nuts. Use a No. 3 Phillips driver and a 7/16 wrench with a light drill torque setting of about 2 or 3 to avoid cracking the platform panel surface. Next, attach the triangle-shaped platform leg brackets to each pair of legs using 4 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch truss screws and 4 1/4 inch tall lock nuts. We recommend using a torque setting of about 12 with the No. 3 Phillips driver bit supplied and your 7/16 box end wrench. Place the lift platform on the floor and install the platform top brace with another screw and tall lock nut at each end with a torque setting of about 12. Bring back the ceiling door panel assembly and place it on the table. Carefully place your lift platform assembly on top. It's important to make sure that the spring brackets at the end of the platform legs go onto the outside of the door braces and are carefully aligned with the threaded holes in the door braces. Hand start the 1032 3/8 inch screws so they don't get cross-threaded. Then tighten them, but don't over-tighten. Next, install the safety chains. This will keep items on the lift platform as it's traveling up and down. There are 2 long chains and 2 short chains. They simply hook on the brackets provided on the legs. Carry the lift platform and place it directly on the floor under the opening. Align the triangular platform leg brackets to the cables that you have dropped through the ceiling and now hanging straight down into the garage. Those cables are usually right where the center point is for the lift platform. Center your lift platform between where the cables are freely hanging. Then you can thread the cable through the slot in the outside of the platform leg bracket. Consult the installation guide Figure 30 for the correct serpentine threading pattern of the cable around each of the threaded studs. Keep tension on the cable as you wind it through the studs. Note that the cable goes to the right of the first stud, then around the stud on the left, then around the stud on the right, then left, then right, then out the center hole at the bottom, keeping tension on the cable. Pull down firmly on the tail of the cable to tighten your loops. While keeping the cable pulled tight around the studs, you're going to add the cable clamp. Note that the cable clamp has a bend to it. Make sure the bent end is leaning toward the middle of the lift platform. So as you can see here, the cable clamp in this position has a hump in the middle of it. When flipped over, you can see it rocks back and forth like so. This top bent portion with the 2 holes faces in toward the center of the lift platform. We want the spacers and the nuts on the side that's bent up like this. Place 1 spacer and 1/4 20 locking nut on each stud on the cable clamp. The manufacturer recommends that you use a 7/16 end wrench to get the nuts snug until the spacers can't be turned, and then tighten a 1/2 turn so they are not over tightened. Tighten the lower right nut first to hold the tension on the cable. Using the wrench, turn the nut until the spacer won't turn. Then tighten the nut a 1/2 turn more. Now you can stop pulling down on the cable. Tighten the other 4 nuts the same way. Repeat this procedure for clamping the other cable. Wrap all of the excess cable around the lower portion of the triangle. There are 2 additional holes on the bottom edge of the triangle so that you can simply loop the extra cable through them. And continue to loop until the extra cable is all gathered up. This completes the lift platform assembly attachment to the cables. Now we need to take the wireless radio kit and move back upstairs. First, we attach the radio receiver to the front side of the lift power head using 2 of the 632 self-threading screws supplied in the radio kit using a Phillips screwdriver. You'll need to push and turn them firmly as they are forming threads. Then we will plug the control cable to the motor control box, port 1. Next, we need to remove the packing screw that is holding down the upper limit switch paddle. The paddle is spring-loaded and will move away from the housing. Note that the lift will not run until this packing screw is removed. We're now ready to bring the platform to the uppermost position. Plug in the power cord and the surge protector. Now turn on the lighted power switch. Look below to make sure that the platform is clear to move up. If anyone is in the garage below, tell them to stay back because this platform is going up. On the back of the wireless remote control is a battery saver switch. The O is for off. The I is for the on position. Slide to the I position. Then press and hold the on button on the front until you see the green light at the top illuminate and blink. Press and hold the up arrow button. The lifting platform will begin traveling up toward the attic. Continue to run the platform all the way up and it will automatically shut off when it hits the up limit switch lever. You can then release the up button. Please note the ceiling door is supported by springs inside of the platform legs. When the door stops at the ceiling, the platform springs in the ledge stretch out so the platform comes up level with the attic floor, and the lift stops automatically when the up limit switch is tripped. Now we need to adjust the mounting rails to the lifting platform. With the platform fully raised up, turn off the lighted power switch and unplug the power cord. With a pencil, draw a center mark on the long sides of the platform panel. It's 44 inches long, so mark it 22 inches from either end. Earlier, we marked center marks on the long sides of the lift opening. We also left the lag bolts loose on the mounting rails so they could be adjusted. Push the mounting rails up against the platform legs at both ends. Then, note your center marks on the platform and the floor. Push with the left or right mounting rail until the center marks are aligned and mounting rails are snug against the platform legs. Now, tighten the lag bolts on the first mounting rail. Be careful not to over-tighten because you could strip the threads or break the lag bolts. Look in the manual bag for the 2 cardboard shim spacers provided. If you can't find them, cut 2 strips of 1/8 inch thick corrugated box about 2 inches wide by 6 inches long. Bend them in half over an edge so they'll form 2 L shapes. Insert the shim spacers between the second mounting rail and the 2 platform legs as shown here. Leave the cardboard spacer in while you push the mounting rail towards the platform while tightening the lag bolts, again being careful not to over-tighten. Remove and discard the spacers. Your platform should now have a small free movement front to back between the white guide spacers and left to right between the mounting rails. Lower the platform so the top of the platform is just above the mounting rails. Look to see if it's even side to side in the opening. With the platform hanging free, it should look centered from each of the triangle-shaped platform brackets over to each of the mounting rails. If not, you can center it by pushing firmly on the lift head from the right or left ends as needed, until the platform triangles look centered between the mounting rails at either end of the opening. Once you have it centered, continue to run the lift all the way up and it will shut off automatically. We recommend that you run the lift platform all the way down to make sure that it stops automatically at the floor while you are still holding the down button. The down limit switch in the lift head senses tension in the cables and is activated when the platform comes to rest on the floor. Next, push and hold the up button to raise the lift platform all the way back up until it trips the upper limit lever and automatically shuts off. When the remote control sits idle for a few minutes, it will go into sleep mode. To wake up the wireless remote control from the sleep mode, simply press the on button for a few seconds and the green light will begin to blink, showing it's ready for use. Anytime you need to stop the lift platform, just take your finger off the button. The motor brake will stop immediately. You can restart the platform in either direction by pushing the up button or the down button. Congratulations, your Model 24 VersaLift installation is complete. For those of you installing Model 32 VersaLifts, there are 2 additional steps to complete the Model 32 installation. Find the 2 lift head leg braces that were packed in carton 2 with the leg sets. Position one of the leg braces on the outside of the lift head legs as shown in Figure 24 and secure it using 4 number 8 1/2-inch drill point screws, 2 at each end. Repeat for the second leg brace at the opposite end of the lift head. Find the 2 lift head leg stabilizer brackets that were also packed in carton 2 with the leg sets. Notice the brackets have a narrow end with smaller holes and a wide end with larger holes. Position one leg stabilizer bracket on the outside of the lift head leg under the motor end of the lift head, with the narrow end against the leg and the wide end on the floor, as shown in Figure 37. The stabilizer bracket should sit at 45 degrees, so the ends are flat against the leg and the floor. Tape the narrow end to the leg. Secure the wide end to the floor decking using 2 number 12 1-inch screws. Remove the tape and secure the narrow end to the leg using 2 number 8 1/2-inch drill point screws. Repeat these steps to install the second stabilizer bracket. This completes your Model 32 installation.